Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is for video tutorial is for students who are in Geometry Goal 3 as they're starting to wrap up the chapter and looking to hit that 85%. Next major series of topics we're going to be talking about deal with the Pythagorean Theorem, which if you learned in the last video was a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So let's get to it. Before we get to a squared plus b squared equals c squared, when you're doing a lot of solving, you have to take the root of something. Now, my Algebra 2 kids have had some exposure to this, but my Algebra 1 kids have not. So the square root of something, so if the square root of 49, for example, that is what number times itself is 49. And in this case, it's going to be 7 and negative 7. What we're doing over here is we are now having exponents, and this is a little bit new. My Algebra 2 kids have seen exponents and they've seen square roots, but they haven't seen them both ways. Ultimately, what you're doing, you're taking your exponent and you're dividing by 2. So my answer here is going to be y to the 8th, and this is going to be x to the 20 divided by 2, which is to the 10th, because what you're doing is the root is the same as saying you're raising something to the 1/2 power. So if you have x to the 20th to the 1/2 power, oh wait, that's multiplication. What's half of 20? 10. And that's where it's coming from my Algebra 2 kids. Now, Pythagorean Theorem. So, beep, 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 beep. This is the important one. That's your hypotenuse, which always means that this is your C. A and B doesn't matter which one is which. C does matter. So let's see here. So this is 12 squared plus 35 squared equals c squared. 12 squared is 144. What's 35 squared? Oops. What is 35 squared? 35 squared is 1225 plus 1225 equals c squared. So what's that going to be? That is going to be 1369 equals c squared. All right, so let's do 1369 and then square root it, which is 37. So c equals 37. That's one of our Pythagorean triples. Let's see here. Over here, let's take a look. It is a squared plus b squared, so 8 squared plus 15 squared equals x squared. 8 squared is 64, 15 squared is 225 equals x squared. 64 and 25 is 289, so you undo that with a root, and so x equals 17. Next up, round your answer to the nearest hundredth. Now here is where you realize that, okay, the world is not always going to give us something that divides so perfectly. We will sometimes get our decimals, and we're going to be just mentally okay with that. So x squared plus 9 squared equals 16 squared. So x squared plus 81 equals 256. Again, in my last video, my Algebra 2 kids, you have your perfect squares, 1 through 20. You're going to use it again. Minus 81. So x squared equals 175. And I happen to know off the top of my head that that's not one of my perfect squares. So let's find out. What is 175 square root? And there's my mess. 13.228. 8 is my decision maker. It means I round up, so it's 13.23. 13.23. X is approximately 13.23. Now x squared plus 6 squared equals 10 squared, so x squared plus 36 equals 100 minus 36 minus 36. X squared equals 64. Yep. So here we got lucky. X equals 8. And that's going to be your answers there. And there are a couple of word problems that give you Pythagorean Theorem, but since you know Pythagorean Theorem, it's actually not that bad. Because look, you have an A, you have a B, and you're just looking for your C. So 7 squared plus 24 squared equals x squared. 49 plus, what is 24 squared? 24 squared is 576, so 576 equals x squared. We know that we're rounding to the nearest tenth, so we know this will not divide evenly. So 675. Yeah, that's definitely not going to divide evenly. So 675, 75 and then we root it, and it is 29.98, rounding to the nearest tenth, so 8 makes it round up, so x equals 26, approximately. It's not equals, it's Mr. It's approximately. X is approximately 26. Over here we have 10 and 26. 26 is my c, so x squared plus 10 squared equals 26 squared. X squared plus 100 equals, what is 26 squared? 26 squared is 676. 676 minus 100 minus 100. X squared equals 576. Square root undo, square root undo. So what is root 576? So we square root, nope, back 576, and now we're going to square root it. Oh, 24, we got lucky. So x equals 24 perfectly. Okay, next up, finding the area using the Pythagorean Theorem. So here we're using now two formulas in one topic. So area is 1/2 the base times the height. Well, there's the height. What's the base? I mean, I can cheat and I can tell you that it's going to be 7, but you need to figure out why first. It is x squared plus 24 squared equals 25 squared. So x squared equals, what is 24 squared? 24 squared is 576. Duh, Ms. Dubois. 576 plus Ms. Dubois. 576 equals 625. So minus 576 minus 576. X squared equals 949. Root x equals 7. Are we done? No, because we want the area. So now 1/2 base times height. So 1/2 times 7 times 24, which is going to be 84 meters squared. Next up, again, we got to find this first. So 9 squared plus x squared equals 41 squared. 81 plus x squared equals, my guess is going to be 1681. Let's see here, 41 squared. Yep, 1681. 1681 minus 81 minus 81. A couple of you might have noticed that Ms. Dubois knows some of these off the top of her head. That's because there's something in the universe called a Pythagorean triple. Those are whole numbers that always make and fit into the Pythagorean theorem, and I've put in the time and effort to recognize a bunch of them on site. So that's going to be 40. So area is 1/2 base times height, which is 1/2 times 9 times 40, which is going to be 180 centimeters squared. And then just cube and calculate my way through that. Okay, so far so good. And now computing area using the Pythagorean theorem. It's the same kind of idea up here. You're using the Pythagorean theorem to find something. And in this particular case, you're looking, you are looking for the height of your triangle. So what we're doing, because this is 20 and 28, we have a couple of properties to our benefit. Since we know that the angles are going to be the same, this also is what's called, and here's a fancy math word that you haven't heard yet, a perpendicular bisector, which means since it's a bisector, that word you do know, you cut it in half, you cut it in half. And now you have everything you need. You have x squared plus 5 squared equals 28 squared. X squared plus 25 equals, what is 28 squared? 28 squared is 784. So 784 minus 25 minus 25, x squared equals, let's see here, 784 minus 25. So minus 25 is 759. So 759, and now we need to root that and root that. So what is root 759? A mess. Does it say to round? Yes, round to the nearest whole number. So 5 makes it round up, so we're going to call this 28, okay? So it's not an equals, it's an approximate. So x, brush tool, x is x, computer, x is approximately 28. 28. Okay, now we have everything. We have a base, which is 10. There's my base right there. That's 10. And there's my height. So 1/2 times 28 times 10, which is going to be 140 units squared. Same idea over here. This is a square, so all of these sides are going to be congruent. So what does that mean? X squared plus x squared equals 36 squared. I know that because if this is an unknown and these are congruent, this is also an x. So 2x squared equals 36 squared. So first things first, what is 36 squared? 36 squared is 1296. So 2x squared equals 1296. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. X squared equals 648. And what is root 648? So 648 root, round to the nearest whole number. So let's see here. It is going to be 25. So x squared equals 25, or x equals 25. And that's how we're going to be doing this. All right, that should be everything for this. There's only one more topic left, the completionist, where we talk about everybody's favorite thing in the world, special right triangles. I can hear the love coming already, and then we're going to talk a little bit about transformations, which we touched on briefly in Goal 1. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. I'll see you in the next one.